With the Pledge of Allegiance, if we all stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Welcome tonight. Summer is a little different than a lot of the other meetings, but as we go through it, please remember our mission and vision as we go through our agenda tonight. We have enough for a quorum, no hearing of delegations. We need a motion to approve the agenda. Thank you, Lanny. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Todd. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda approved. Not seeing any communications to the board. You should have received your consent items with your packet, and we also have a few extras in front of us. Anybody have any questions or any comments?
I'll make a couple comments
Okay.
on the revenues and expenditures through May. We're about 800,000 above in revenues versus expenditures, and that's to be expected. That will balance out over the next month. We really think we'll definitely spend about 100,000, but we're in good shape. All this is as forecasted. I'll do a little more of our financial review to close out the year in my report.
Okay. Anybody else have questions? Hearing none, we need a motion then to approve the consent items. All right. Brett, did you get both of those? Okay. Brett and then Todd. Yep. All right. We have a motion second on consent items. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent items approved. We'll go into the superintendent's report.
Mrs. Eischen has dug into our most recent ISASP, Iowa Statewide Assessment of Student Progress data, which she always does in the spring. One data point that I wanted to review with you guys was our high school scores. Looking at it over the past 2 years in comparison to before that, we made a significant change in our high school schedule, one that we believe is good for kids, one that we believe is good for our staff. But we want to make sure that learning is good, is improving, and that's what the data shows. So we took the average proficiency over the last 2 years with the new schedule in comparison to the 3 years before average in both 9th, 10th, and 11th grade math. We went up 6 percentage points. In 9th grade ELA, we're up 4 percentage points. 10th grade ELA, 7 percentage points. And 11th grade ELA, 8 percentage points. So always important for us to make sure we keep an eye on things when we make changes so that we can ensure those changes are good for kids. And that's still stuff that needs to continue to grow, and things we'll keep working on. Some other highlights, 88% of 3rd grade students are proficient in math, 89% of 8th grade students proficient in ELA, 82% of 8th grade students proficient in math, 81% of 9th grade students proficient in ELA, and 23% of 7th grade students are advanced in math. So almost a quarter of all of our 7th grade students are advanced. We look at proficiencies, we look at non-proficiencies. We always also want to grow our advanced kids. That's a number we've emphasized of late, and will continue to, and it's good to see some of those advanced numbers growing. Financial review, like I mentioned during the consent items, our revenues through May are about 800,000 ahead of our expenditures. Those numbers will balance out over the next month as Lisa closes out our year. We are forecasting deficit spending of about 100,000. That's comfortable. That's something we're okay with. We're projected to end with a fund balance of around $3 million, which is 13% of our expenditures. I'll tell you that's conservative. Lisa wants me to say $3 million. I think it's closer to 4, but at least $3 million. 13%, and our board goal is maintaining a fund balance of 8%. Our unspent balance ratio will be about 20%, and we have a board goal of 10% ratio. Those are good numbers. We're ending the year in a strong financial position, and we believe that we would, and we are going to. However, we do know that we'll need to continue to make adjustments to maintain these financial goals. in coming years, and we know that as well. We've had extra revenues for 5 years. We'll have them for 2 more, and then where we've spent that money, we'll need to slowly back out of it. We'll be able to do that through attrition, through retirement, and those are never easy decisions to make, but we made a decision as a district when we had money to spend it towards our kids and to spend it in areas that we thought would make a difference for our kids, and then having a plan to reverse out of that is important. Some key dates for the 2025 school board elections. Rodney, Laney, and Jay are up for re-election in 2025. Monday, August 25th is when candidates can begin filing. Lisa has packets and that stuff if you need that from her. Thursday, September 18th, candidates, the deadline for filing by 5 p.m. on that Thursday, and then candidates can withdraw up to 5 days after that by Tuesday, September 13th. Tuesday, November 4th is the school election day. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So keep that on your radar in our election year.
Any questions on the report? All right, hearing none, then we'll move on to old business. Looking to approve the second readings of policies.
Second readings of policies. All of these 100 and 200 series had no changes recommended in comparison with the recommended policies from our association school.
Thank you, Brent. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Second reading's approved. We move into new business, and looks like we've got some first readings to at least start reviewing.
First readings, there are some changes here, and this will just be a first reading today. Board Policy 201, the Board of Directors, there's some language that needs updated to reflect the November election changes. They used to be in September, now they're with the regular election days, so there's some language changes there. Also, Board Policy 2023, which is the term of office, again, some updated language needs to be made to reflect the November election changes. Also, Board Policy 203 has an update. There was legislation 2 years ago, I believe, maybe just last year, but legislation that a board member can now make up to $20,000 from the district in a fiscal year. That number used to be lower, so we'll need to update the language of Board Policy 202 or 203. And our last one,
Or that apply when if a board member was a teacher or
substitute, drove a bus, yeah, all those are good examples. Keeping score doesn't that probably add up to 20,000, but we don't have many of those conflicts, but that's where it could be. Board Policy 4052, licensed employee qualifications, recruitment, and selection. We do not have that policy, although it is required, so we need to adopt that policy next month.
All right. We'll move on from the first reading. Please take a chance to look those over before next month. We'll go into approve the transfer of the Thompson Scholarship Fund.
The Thompson Scholarship is something that is awarded at Algona High School annually and has been for many, many years. They are need-based scholarships. Dozens are awarded per year. It's not a one number, but it's significant. 20 to 30 students per year receive the Thompson Scholarship, renewable for 4 years. It was established by William Thompson of La Jolla, California in 1955. His sister was the longtime public school librarian. That's his connection to Algona. In his trust agreement that he wrote in 1955, where he put the money in a national bank in Chicago, the original trust agreement stipulated that the funds must always be held in a bank with a surplus of $5 million. I would propose relocating that money. There's a local bank that has a trust department that has a surplus over $60 million. So in 2025, the reasons to be secure that Mr. Thompson did probably aren't the same. Banks are more secure in general in 2055. So I do propose relocating that money. This would require a vote by you guys. Our attorney has reviewed the trust agreement. He also believes it's reasonable to move the money to a local bank.
In the review, you said, just what you commented about the Texas Bank, we haven't even heard of
Yep.
it.
So, yep, about a year and a half ago, we voted to move the money from the National Bank in Chicago to the National Bank in Texas. That was in October 2023, almost 2 years ago. The agreement says every March they'll tell us the amount that we give away to students. We got that amount last week, in June. They've been very, very difficult to work with. Really, we haven't heard from them at all until that communication last week. So I think it's just easier, better interest of our kids and the scholarships to move that locally so it works better, easier to work with our scholarship people.
We have a motion?
That's true. I'll make the motion, or Brent second.
I'm sorry if I didn't hear on that, but Jay and then Brent. Any further discussion? Because the only thing I ask is like the scholarship fund, who controls it, not controls it, but makes the, recommendations. They're okay with the
They are, yeah. There's a committee who works in scholarship that's school-based that's that, yeah.
Okay.
That amount, we say 5 million, and then we pay off the interest,
This fund is about $7.5 million right now, so it continues to grow. We do just a percent of the interest is what's given away in scholarships every year, probably around $300,000 annually. Does that answer your question, Brent? It's outstanding, right?
Any other questions? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approve the transfers, the transfer approved. Approved stipend for high school ELA teacher.
This past year, we could not hire for our high school English position. That was the second consecutive year. This coming year would be the third. The high school English department, what they did is they moved some of their courses, so some electives were offered at the college, maybe online, maybe in person, but not by one of our teachers. Mrs. Spear, one of our high school English teachers, took on larger class loads. She typically has one period where she works on media, like commons messaging, newspaper assistance, webpage content, some of those other things. We weren't able to give her the period to do that because of our changes, and that work went to after school, after hours. So with the schedule change, like I said, we couldn't set aside the period. So I would recommend a $3,000 stipend for her work. That's what we did last year as well. We don't do it prior to, because we're trying to hire that position all the time. And we interviewed throughout the year, this year, a few different times. So we're kind of forced to wait to the end of the year and see, was it the whole year, was it the half year, or what it was. So that's the reason why we do it in this order that we did last year. We've done this with other staff before, where they've taken on additional responsibilities for a year, and we've stipended them for those responsibilities.
And it's $30,000 per year.
That's the number we've been using when we look at a period per day or that amount of time. So I think it's appropriate.
Kids you said are taking classes online or in person to the college, are they getting college credit then as a result of that?
Yep, get both.
So then, okay.
Yep.
Gee, do you have a question? I didn't know if you were.
Just something, we've had people apply for that job, just hasn't been the right fit, or we've offered it and they don't take it.
Offered, not taken.
Okay.
Yeah. We had, last spring, we had someone took a job somewhere else. This year, Mr. Cecil interviewed a number of, we went to a bunch of job fairs, found some candidates. If we could get them to interview in Algona, Iowa, they took jobs other places. Most of them You can choose your location and then find your job, and most of them don't choose Northern Iowa as their location.
Motion to approve, second.
Thanks, Brent. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
Thanks, Don. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'd like to thank the English department for their extra work.
Yeah.
They've been doing it a long time.
Very good comment. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Stipend approved. Sale of some weight equipment.
So some weight equipment. Here we go. Progress in the field house, I guess, goes along with this. We have a crew on hand starting to prep for putting the floor in the weight room today. We had a crew here come Saturday to put up our wall mats in the wrestling room. Although once they started that process, they had multiple shades of red, and we hired the company to put the mats up, and they would not put their own mats up. So kind of hit a roadblock there, and they've been reordered to be a matching color. But with the weight room, putting the floor in starting today, that'll take about 10 to 12 days. With the equipment, 2 to 3 days after. So by the end of June, the weight room equipment should be in. And we hope to gain temporary access. That'll be working with our fire marshal to do that. Once we do gain access, we need to dispose, which isn't a great word, but sell our old weight room equipment. So this would be just a motion to sell it. We need to post it, but then we don't have a requirement of bids or anything like that. We can do a first come, first served sale, which I think would be in our best interest in this case.
Why not reuse the weight equipment?
Well, we got more. Well, part of our room issue was racks. And our weight equipment was certainly aged, I guess. So we got new equipment to put in the new room.
Motion to approve the sale of the weight equipment. Second.
Thank you, Brent. Jay was second, I believe. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Sale of weight equipment approved. Approved special ed sharing agreement.
Special education sharing agreements, the same as that we had last year, with Southeast Valley holding 20% of the contract, Manson Northwest Webster holding 20% of the contract, and Algona holding the other 60%, which is 3 days per week. So Mr. Heiser spends a day in Manson Northwest Webster, a day in Southeast Valley, and 3 days in our district. We also receive operational sharing of around $23,000 for sharing our special education position. So I do recommend this for the 2025-2026 school year.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Thanks, Lonnie. Do you have a second?
Second.
Brent, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All right. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved the sharing agreement. All right. Approve the contract for transfer of state funding ADA.
I think this can be a confusing piece here, so I hope to explain it. House Bill 2612 takes AEA special education funds, and 90% of those funds that used to flow through directly to the AEA now just 90% do, and the district receives 10% of those. This agreement, which we're required by legislation to approve, is that we'll have a transfer of those funds. So those dollars no longer flow through to the AEA, they come to us, and then we're required by law to give them to the AEA. So this is what this is to approve that transfer of 90% of our special ed funds to Prairie Lakes AEA.
Is that a one-time thing, or is it
Monthly.
monthly?
Am I right there? 'Cause we receive it monthly.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, 10 payments. Yeah.
We only have to approve it once, not a while.
We're just approving the process of transfer, yeah.
We don't really have a choice, and that's what's required.
It is required. Yeah.
There you go.
But it-
You don't even have a choice.
Yeah, but nice one to let us
Motion to
know.
approve.
Thanks, Brent. Do we have a second?
Second.
That sounds like we need no further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Transfer approved. All
Yeah,
right.
my frustration with that requirement is the money already used to go there. So why we created a process that it doesn't, it goes here and we're required to then send it there. I'm just not sure I understand, but that is what the requirement is.
All right, looking to adopt a resolution to participate in storm protection fund.
Okay, so in May 2024, the district was notified by our property insurance company, EMC, that our wind hail deductible would become 1% added to all of our property. That didn't just happen to us, it happened to all the school districts in the state of Iowa. So to put that in a little perspective, what that would mean, so wind hail, that would be a tornado, for example. So a tornado knocks down the campus we're on, middle school, high school campus, that holds a value of $69 million. We would have a deductible around $700,000 to cover those costs. $700,000 like that would be difficult for us. We don't carry those types of balances in our management. We don't tax in our management to have that excess fund. You could maybe use some of our other funds, but then we would just be lacking there. So that deductible in itself is an issue for us. So over the past year, districts have been trying to figure out how to lessen that risk. One way is to buy up that deductible, so it's not as low or not as high dollar-wise. That's expensive, and you have to do it every year. So there has been this Storm Protection Fund cooperative that has been established, where schools come together in like a risk pool agreement and put money in that will insure us up to $15 million, which we wouldn't have a $15 million expense with the property that we have. It costs less, broader protection, lower retention levels. If there's not a catastrophic event in the state, the money's there, you don't put back in the second year. Otherwise, what we put in is $41,000. That could happen. You could do it this year. You could do it next year again if there was a catastrophic event and all of that money was gone. That would be a little chance of that happening, but it certainly could. So this certainly is a better way of protecting. We got an email last week. I think every district in the state is, with 15, is going to be part of this Storm Protection Fund agreement. So I would recommend that we.
EMC is just wanting you to self-fund anything less than $700,000, right? You're playing smaller.
Yeah, and EMC doesn't actually sell the product. Jester Insurance does. And I'm glad you said that, Jay, because our broker for EMC wanted to make sure we knew they don't make anything off this. They just, basically told us about the product. They carry it for us. Jester Insurance is the one, so it allows. And that's exactly what's happening. Schools are self-insuring themselves for their wind hail deductible.
So prior to 2024, EMC, that was 100% coverage? Is that-
Well, your coverage is 100%, but your deductible wasn't 1%.
Okay.
So, your deductible, I don't know, $100,000.
Okay.
Something like that. Then they went to 1%. So it was a tremendous change. 7 times as large.
So do we save then from EMC, so since we're substituting?
Rates did not go down with the 1%. They didn't.
We did a bunch.
Yeah, last year, this agreement didn't exist, and we chose not to buy up, because we felt that expense was too high for us to ever manage on a year-to-year basis. So this has been developed as a 2080 agreement in the last year for school districts. This one makes a lot more sense. You don't have an ongoing cost, hopefully. We put up $41,000 in. Hopefully next year we put 0.
And so like if
it does a roof and there's $250,000 damaged, the EMC policy wouldn't kick in, but this would?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes. Yep.
Is there a deductible in the secondary?
Basically buying up to have a 0% deductible.
Yeah, right.
Our deductible still remains at 1%. We just now have a fund that would pay that.
But this policy, say we have a $150,000 claim, does this have a deductible or no?
No.
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 But if another school has a $150,000 claim, we'll pay them $1,000 or something.
Yeah, it'd be less, you know, always to get it back to whatever they have determined as their threshold.
Percentage.
Yeah.
A motion to approve the resolution to fulfill the funding cooperative agreement.
Thank you, Brent. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
Thanks, John. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Be a roll call vote since it's a resolution.
Yep. Owen,
Aye.
Nugent,
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Limbaugh.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Motion approved.
It will be interesting as if it does get higher, to look at us self-funding it possibly, you know, not that,
We could, but the problem is that it's gonna take 10 years to.
through
sell.
1 through 6, you've got a big risk.
Yeah, and that's,
But after that,
that's another option where I
we
talked
take
to.
$100,000 and put it in the bank and.
Yep, that would be another option where you could buy up,
Double your-
be a part of this, or you could take management money and, you know, invest it for 10 years and, you know, then that's your deductible.
That's something we could consider on years where we don't have to pay in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, forecast out. and be
Just
like,
keep
we're
putting
gonna,
that in, yeah.
Yep.
Have that as a normal
Normal
expenditure.
expense that we.
And then once you get funded, then the expense is gone.
Yeah,
Until you use it, and then you're gonna refund it.
And it could be management fund dollars.
absolutely can.
Mhm.
That's what my recommendation would be,
Yeah.
for it to be management.
So, something to consider.
This will be paid out of management anyways. too.
It will, this 41 will be.
Yep.
Because when you can get there, boy, it's really nice to
Yeah.
self-fund things, but it's hard to get to that,
Yeah.
or it's hard to commit to get to that level.
We have recently, today, Lisa talked with EMC, it's not gonna go up maybe as far as we thought. Our workers' comp actually is going down, which we're good to hear. It will go up the next year, but it's gonna go down for 2025-26, which probably saved us, you know, close to the amount that we're spending here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
All right.
Property insurance.
As we move on, the next would be to approve the school fees for 25-26.
Yeah, there is an attachment, the document, there's shades and colors in there. Anytime there's a shade, that's where we've made a change. And I show you guys that, and I'll put that on the screen as well. I show you that because the district has done a good job of not increasing fees a lot. In the middle, these are lunch and breakfast fees. Those are the ones that increase the most, simply because we have to cover the cost of food as it increases. Another fee proposal I will make for 25-26 is in our 3-year-old preschool to $75 a month from $60 a month. $60 a month is what our fee has been since that program was established in 2008 or 9. So it hasn't moved at all. Also remember that 3-year-old preschool is not funded by the state. So we fund that through our general fund and through these fees. So that increase is certainly valuable to us. That increase, as well as a dime per lunch, which moves our K-4 lunch to $2.90. It moves our 9-12 lunch to $3.05. Which is a really good deal. It's hard to get much for $3.05, but can get a school lunch. Question sometimes comes up, the adult and guest at $5, why is it so much higher? It's because those aren't reimbursable by the federal lunch program where student lunches are.
I've got 2 questions.
Okay?
What would it cost our district to have every student have an activity pass?
That's a really good question, Jay. There's a lot of districts that are doing that.
And have you heard of any other superintendents knowing if the kids get in free, are the parents coming and paying as well? You know, does that help
Yeah.
offset it? But I'd like to really see us just take a hard look at offering our students to get to activities at no charge.
I love that idea. I love this discussion. I'll find out there, because there's a number of districts that has happened where someone has come in and purchased the activity ticket for every student. So I'll ask them what that's done to their gates. Has that improved? Do they think they see more parents? That's a good question, because I agree.
I just think it's very beneficial for as many kids as we can have at our activities, and as things get more expensive.
Yep. It's a really positive environment, right, to come into an event at a
So-
school.
I mean, all we'd have to do is figure out how much we make each year in student activity passes.
Yeah, did you do the math on what that would cost?
Well, all I did
No,
was
but
take
it's lost, right?
1,400 times every kid, but every kid.
No,
has
but
a
we're not,
budget.
I mean, we're not, it's like where I work.
It's how much you're
They'll say,
losing.
well, if we don't get reimbursed for CT scan, it costs us $1,200.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It costs you the cost of electricity. You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't cost you anything. As far as that's the same thing. We're not, having 10 more kids at a basketball game doesn't cost us anything.
Correct.
It's
But
less
what we
revenue.
would do is, how many student passes do we sell each year? And all you would be losing as a district would be the loss of revenue of those passes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think you have to lose the revenue. I think it probably depends on how we're talking about doing this. If the district's gonna just give those, or what I've seen in other districts in our area is a business says, we are going to fund an activity ticket for every student in the district. So then the revenue's not lost,
Yeah.
but it's a gained experience for a lot of
Yeah,
kids.
so, but I mean, it's, all it would be, you're gonna offer it for everybody, and the cost for that business to sponsor it would be the lost revenue. It would be $20 per enrollment. You know, what's a normal activity ticket cost?
It's $50 for K-6 and 7. If you just did it at 55 times 100 or 1,400, roughly $75,000, $80,000.
No, but I'm saying that that's not even the cost, though, because not every student is buying an activity ticket. So out of the 1,400, what do we sell, 500?
I don't know the number.
Well,
But-
this is saying $4,500.
Yeah, because that's how many, and none of my kids have activity passes. You know, there's 4 kids in the district, so that's what I'm saying, is like, if we're only selling
3/4 of the whole.
200 activity passes per year, that's the only revenue that
Would be lost, it's
would be
just
lost.
that.
And that's-
If we just give everybody one.
Yes.
If we just give everybody one, because now you're gaining all the kids that are not having one, and just the people that have paid for it. So it's not, I don't think that a business would have to pay for that, because we're just promoting more of a community in our school rather than,
Yeah.
you know, saying, we want you here. If you're an outgoing kid, you're getting into.
Because it is cost prohibitive for
absolutely.
some kids to come. And they are still spending money when they come at the concession stand, and
It's a $50 minimum if my family comes to an event. By the
Yeah.
time I pay for entry for my family and concessions.
and I think it would bring in parents with the kids. I mean,
6,600 last year, 4,500 this year.
So, yeah.
Fraction.
The $4,500 revenue is what we've made off of student activity passes.
It would be important for us not to lose that $4,500, you know, as we're gonna make a recommendation later on in this meeting to cover cost in that fund already.
Yeah, but when you approach businesses to say, do you want to sponsor this, $10,000
Yeah.
a year, every kid, now we've increased revenue.
We have, right.
We've advertised like
Absolutely.
you wouldn't believe. Like,
Absolutely. And, you know, I think 10,000's a fair number, because that is more, that's double than what we're currently getting, right?
Yeah.
That number.
So, yeah, but 7,500 or 75,000,
Yeah, that's just doing the math on it for the full.
assuming that every student has an
Yeah.
activity pass, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, is not everybody does.
are we talking K-12 or just
Yeah.
high school?
I would
I'd say
12.
K-12.
Mhm. Just something that we could talk about at the board retreat, but
Yeah,
something.
maybe.
Yeah, that's a good topic for the board
Everybody's
retreat.
agree? That's your best contribution.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
That's good.
that's a good thought.
But I mean, some businesses would jump at that chance that, and then on the pass, put whatever business it is.
Sponsored by.
Sponsored by
Mhm.
that business. And it's,
That's what I heard. That's the word on the street.
I got
The Lodgy Farm.
retreat.
So do you want to keep that on the list here?
Yeah, we'll keep it on the list right now. We won't take it off, but there might be a
Can be
different way to.
amended.
Well, we can still approve it
Yeah, just
Yeah.
put it at that.
at this, but then we can discuss this next month or the following month,
Yep.
put it on the agenda.
Yep.
I mean, we've already done your research now, it's just,
Yep.
it's a matter of, does somebody want to sponsor it? Or do we eat the cost? I understand.
We could try it for 1 year.
This is the only way to cover the cost of activity.
6 of one, half a dozen of another.
Funds.
All good discussions, that's something to.
Are we making your job more difficult?
Can't do that.
Okay.
Sure you can, just don't tell me.
Auditors do not have a sense of humor.
No, they
Not
don't.
like us.
They're the least funny group of folks ever.
Joking.
So, all right, any further discussion on the fees that were
Fees.
presented? If not, we need a motion to approve the fees.
I do a motion to approve the fees for fiscal year '26.
Thank you, Tom.
I'll
And
second.
second was by Todd, so we have motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Fees approved. Year-end authorization payments.
This is something we do every June. This allows us to finish our books at the end of our fiscal year, which is the end of this month, before our July meeting. So it allows Lisa to pay bills as needed throughout this month to close out the year. So I recommend authorizing Lisa to pay June bills that are due to help with the year-end process, as we typically do to end our fiscal year.
Been a practice of ours for many years.
I motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Brent, second by Jay. Any further discussion?
Good luck.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Payment authorization approved. Looking at another resolution to transfer funds for the athletic.
Yep. Iowa code allows school districts to transfer funds from their general fund to their student activity fund with the board resolution. The resolution transfers that we're proposing transfers $14,371.15 from the general fund. That is the amount we spent on protective and safety equipment, such as batting helmets, or catcher's equipment, or helmets, or shoulder pads. This is a transfer we've made the past 4 years. When we're able to make this, I think it's in good practice to do. If our general fund and our budget doesn't allow us to it, then I'm not sure it would be something. But this year, I would recommend the transfer of $14,000 from the general fund to the student
We
activity
always
fund.
talk about the general fund being where we want the money because there's flexibility, so why not just pay this directly out of the student activity fund without transfer to the general fund?
We are transferring it from the general fund to the student activity fund, so that the student activity fund doesn't go down that $14,000. We're able to do that when our general fund is stable.
I understand that, but I've always thought that money in the general fund is more important than money in other funds.
Without a doubt, a general fund is.
So why transfer it, why not just take it from the student activity fund? Because doesn't that get money from other places that won't have replenished at some point?
Very difficult. Revenue from.
We'll be lucky to have enough in our general athletics to pay for some.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
That's the reason, I think, to answer your question, Brent, is
The money's not there.
activity fund is always strapped.
Okay.
It barely breaks even. This allows them some space.
All your state trips are taken out of it, right, for
State
sporting
trips,
events and hotels
equipment,
and.
jerseys,
Yep.
everything but salaries for coaches and transportation.
Makes sense, that's what I was.
Is there a reimbursement for state, from state?
A little bit, but not all of it gets to go to student activity.
Okay. I meant for like hotels and stuff like that, I want that.
Yeah, it's not
A
very
little bit,
much.
not-
Lodging and travel reimbursements, it isn't very much, but they're,
And the travel has to go back to the general fund, not lodging.
because that's how we pay it in the first place.
Yeah, okay.
I resolve the Board of Education of the Algonquin Community School District in Cassuth County. I don't approve the transfer. Do I have to read this?
No.
No.
Okay, I'll motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution transferring funds for safety equipment. Since
Seen
it's a
some-
resolution, go
Seen some
ahead.
schools do a lot more than 14,000.
Absolutely.
So I think we're
That
good to
number
keep it.
can probably get up to six digits in some cases.
We spent 6 digits on safety?
I don't
Or
think
is
we
it just-
could, but I think you'll see districts in the state do that.
And then how does this number compare to the previous 3 years?
Very,
Similar.
very similar,
similar.
very similar, yeah.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, it's a resolution, we will need another roll call.
Okay. Owen.
Aye.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Nugent.
Yes.
Limbaugh.
Yes.
Mawadry.
Yes.
Resolution approved. All right, we'll go in to discuss the school nursing contract next.
KRHC provides the nursing services for the Algonah Community School District. It's an agreement we've had for a number of years. The agreement allows for employees from KRHC to be physically present on the premises of the school or immediately with mobile contact for 7 hours a day for a total of 15 hours a school year. Oftentimes, there would be more than one, and it's not typical that we would have to call for them. There's 3 nurses that handle this for us. All 3 aren't present at one time, but we always have one who is available. That's the same agreement that we've had. This year, the agreement increases from $101,000 to $109,000. This is a 7% increase. I have spoken with KRHC. 7% is difficult for us, as we get a 2% increase in funding. Over time, those numbers are tough for us. It's tough for us to sustain 7%, which was the negotiated raise for their nurses. Although I will also say, we went 4 years without an increase, which is valuable, and I would say the work they do for us is outstanding. So the agreement is good for us. Just important for us to have communications with them, which we have, that we're hopeful 7% isn't an every year thing, because that's not something we can do every year.
I will abstain from this like I do every year. I don't get any benefit out of it, but they passed in the state a law, and I don't know if you've seen this, and I think it's passed, where you have to have, every school in the state of Iowa has to have somebody on staff that's qualified to administer seizure
Yeah,
medications.
Yeah. And
So
we can use our nurses for
you
that.
can use the nurse for that, so then you have to have a school nurse. And then every employee in the district has to receive training on the recognition of seizures,
Yeah.
which I called one of our state representatives, I'm just like, seriously, like, this is not even part of basic life support as far as what, different organizations put out, And I said, where is this coming from? And there was a state representative from, I don't know what county, but somewhere, I think in the central Iowa area, whose kid had a seizure, wasn't recognized, and it was like, 15, 30 minutes before treated. And I was just like, so it's based on one case, nothing's evidence-based, it's just somebody, an emotional issue where everybody could do it. And I'm just like, this is adding a layer of complexity to schools where,
Yeah.
like, stop it, And so teachers, I think it's like, what they came up with is every year, every 2 years, maybe, there's has to be, recertification, which could just include a video that they
Yeah.
have, but teachers still have to watch a, hour-long video every 2 years on the recognition of seizures. And I just,
You'd think anaphylaxis would be something, like, do we have
well,
people
yeah, but where
training
do you
for all the
stop it?
teachers?
Yeah. So it's, where you stop it, on what medical condition,
Our current list of mandatory trainings is 2 pages long that our staff do annually.
which is just, and then, every school has to do it, every, private and public, or private schools that receive,
Yep.
say,
Yep.
dollars, but it's just like, this is just another thing. But my point in that is just to bring it up, but it's to, at least it can be filled by
Yeah.
the school nurse.
We are lucky we got qualified people to do the administering part.
Because like.
I'm glad you
basic-
advocated for schools
Basic
that-
EMTs don't even, an EMT that's just, is not certified to administer medications. And then the solution was, well, somebody in staff has to get training for this one.
Mhm.
You know, so a smaller school that doesn't have a school nurse now is,
It needs to be up probably.
Right.
needs to have somebody on staff who's qualified, who makes you qualified. It's on
Yeah.
education, I guess, you know?
Well, I'm glad you called and did some advocacy for schools, because they need to hear those types of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just wanna be like, it's, that is stupid.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's just, you know, somebody's, like, and it's unfortunate that a kid would suffer, I get it, you know, but like, anaphylaxis, like Laney says, you know, does.
Well, this
do
training
we need to have somebody qualified.
very
to
well
administer
might
that?
change, not have changed that event that happened here. I don't know the circumstances.
And that's the thing
but-
too, is it's not evidence-based, you know, does it really make a difference, you know? You know, if somebody has a seizure disorder, you say whoever's, you know, with that student, you know, if they have they get training rather than
Everyone.
everyone.
Right, right. That would be reasonable.
Yeah, why would we do that?
Right.
Yeah. All right, any other further discussion? Hearing none, we need a motion then to approve the KRHC school nurse contract.
Make a motion to approve the nurse services agreement contract.
Thanks, Tom. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Yes, thanks, Lynn.
Sorry.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nurses contract approved. Looking to approve a consortium agreement.
The Thrivent Academy, which is formerly known as the North Central Consortium School, so it changed its name in the past year, serves students in grades 3 through 12 with significant behavior needs, maybe IEP needs, but also general education students. The Manson Northwest Webster School District is the flow-through agent, so they handle all the finances. So we send a check for $55,000 to Manson Northwest Webster at the beginning of the year. If we never send a child there, we get that money back at the end of the year. We don't get money back. Typically, we pay above what our fee is, which is a per pupil fee. So it's based on size of school and how much you pay up front. We also pay $7,000 up front for facilities paid out of PEPL. That's non-refundable. We pay that. This is the consortium. The Thrive Academy is something that's very beneficial to our students. We have students there all the time. We have some students who are there throughout the year. We also use it, like if a child gets suspended, we'd rather not send them home, we send them here. So education continues to happen. So it is valuable to us and something that our buildings use throughout the year. So I would recommend the Thrive Academy agreement for the 2025-2026 school year.
Motion for us to join the Thrive Academy.
Thank you, Jay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Todd. We have motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in
Just one
favor?
thing, about 6 weeks ago, I met with the principal, Josh, and a couple of teachers down there, and they gave a little presentation about the kind of the philosophy and stuff, and I got, you know, if that's something we ever need,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I think it was very interesting, you know, in
Yeah.
terms of, because we hear about it, but do we all really know what
What they do.
and their philosophy and stuff, and so just,
I shared in the gender review. I'm also a board member at the Thrive Academy, so I've seen those
Yeah.
as well. They do really good work. It's a difficult academy to staff. The work is different than it is in just our school, for sure. But the work they do is really valuable. Long-term, the facility they're at, I don't know if that facility is going to work for them long-term. We may need to find another location for the academy, but you're right. And they do, a couple of years ago, it's at the start, like in August, administrators, we went down and we saw what they did. It was kind of a showcase of here's what we do with your kids when they're here, and the philosophy and program that they work with. So it is really good. I'm glad you got to see them.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none then, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Consortium agreement approved. BB teaching program agreement.
This is simply an agreement between the Algonquin Community School District and Buena Vista that would allow a student teacher to be placed in our district, just like we've had with other colleges and universities in the past few months. And this is a 3-year agreement with them.
Motion approved. Good thing, right?
Thanks, Brett. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Diane. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Teaching practicum agreement approved. Approve a crisis prevention agreement.
CPI, Crisis Prevention Institute Agreement. We train many of our staff, all of our associates in CPI, which is de-escalation techniques as well as holds and restraints. This is something we've used the AEA for in the past, and we are now going to move in-house. So this agreement, we're purchasing some of the content for refresher recertifications that take place. Rudy Week, our restorative practice coordinator, will become a trainer to train new staff annually, actually probably a couple times throughout the year. So it's just a change we're making from where we used to try to manage taking 15 staff members, a day off, getting AEA here. We're just going to handle all of that in-house now, which will be a lot better for us, and Mr. Week will do a great job with it. So I recommend approval of the CPI subscription for next year.
Well, is that an annual thing then?
The subscription, the content part is, Rudy's is not. We'll pay for him to get trained, and he'll be a trainer. He has to do some recertifying every year, but this $2,500 agreement is annual.
Okay.
All right.
Make a motion to approve the CPI agreement.
Thanks, Todd. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Lanny. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Crisis prevention agreement approved. Open enrollment.
We have 3 open enrollment applications that have met approval guidelines on Friday. Andrea couldn't be here, so she came in, went through the agenda with me. She asked a really good question of how these people would meet the approval guidelines when the deadline is March 1st. Really good question. All of these students are kindergarten students, and kindergarten's deadline is not March 1st, it's actually September 1st. So great question, and these 3 people all meet the guidelines.
Motion to approve open enrollments.
Thank you.
Seconded?
Brent, and then Jay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Open enrollment approved. All right, we're going to move into our closed session here now.
Personnel first or not?
Yeah, should we do, because we just have resignations.
Oh, I didn't, I was just up, I'm sorry, I was kind of following it down.
Yep.
So, yep, nope, let's go
We
ahead.
have 3 resignations, 2 people. Ashton Collins as a teacher associate at Garrigan, and Noah Arrowwood from middle school boys track and JV boys basketball, both pending suitable replacements.
Motion to approve resignation.
Thank you. Do you have
Second the motion.
all right, Brent, a motion, Tom seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resignation's approved. Any contracts at this point?
Nope.
All right. All right, now we'll look to move into closed section under 21.51I to evaluate professional competency of an individual. Basically superintendent's report, review, instead of reading, unless I have to read that whole thing to go into it. We need a motion then to go into closed session.
So moved.
All right, do we have a second? Thank you, Lanny and Brent. We have a motion and a second. We are in closed session. When we come back out, we will make you aware and come check for anybody that's maybe still out there. You don't have to stay if you'll be good.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.